Hello, everybody. We will just give us one more minute before we go ahead and get started. All right, we are 1 minute in. People should be connecting in. We'll go ahead and get started. So thank you for joining us today. We are here for Smarter Hiring Starts Here. So how public sector HR can turn data into action. This is going to be a presentation on innovation as well as trends in data. So let's go ahead and get started with quick intros of who we are. So I'm Carrie. I am head of product for HCM, and I have on with me Derek, who's one of the senior product managers in talent acquisition and skills. All right, we are going to cover the challenge. We're going to cover the vision, how to get there, and a path forward. So again, some of this is thought leadership, some of this is innovation, right? We really want to have a conversation about diving into the future of where better data helps us build better teams and how to react to some of the metrics that we see. Perfect. So our challenge, right? When we talk about this, we're all feeling the pressure. This is talent scarcity, retirements, it's a ticking time bomb, right? So with this, 60% of the agencies report struggling to find qualified candidates. At the same time, nearly 70% of exits are tied to more competitive pay elsewhere. Opportunities lie with less than 1 in 4 agencies consistently using data in hiring, and we're also seeing the time to hire metrics trending in the wrong direction. So over 93 days on average. These numbers aren't just statistics, they're fact. So this is coming from 2,500 plus of our public sector organizations that use NEOGOV's applicant tracking system, which is also used by 1/3 of state governments across our enterprise. With retirement coming, how do we use data to manage the charge? Next. So what we wanted to show here is the gap, right? So it's public sector versus private sector. Private sector is pulling ahead. They're leveraging data, they're maturing, they're innovating, automation, personalized outreach, right? They're adapting faster than we are. Their ability to respond quickly to talent needs and retain that talent is something we have to address. We can't afford to stay reactive. We need to integrate, and we need to do it now. Next. So what is the vision for the future, and where do we see this happening, right? The opportunity for government is, despite the challenge, we can lead in purpose-driven careers. We need to do that with better data, better tools, better processes. We can transform hiring from a barrier into a strategic advantage. The question isn't whether we should change, it's how quickly can we do that? How fast can we rotate, right? So with that, we want to dive into next slide. Yep, the 5 layers of HR data maturity. So as you'll notice here, it is a transformation. With that, we need a solid foundation. So whether it's from AI-driven forecasting, that model shows how organizations evolve into using that data to make strategic decisions. Agentic flows. So some of you have heard of what agentic is. Is automation with intelligence, right? So it's like, hey, I've looked at the data, I've analyzed this, you should do X, Y, or Z. Do you want to do that? And you say yes, and the systems go off and do it for you, right? So it's really taking what was a recommended path and accelerating you through it with automation, so you can execute quicker. So what we want to do is talk about these 5 layers and these data components, whether it's your data warehouse and all of your source data, which again is layer 1, is the foundation, to the dashboards and the reports of aggregating that data up to provide those recommendations, to benchmarks. Where are you against your peers? And setting your own goals against your own benchmarks, right? All of that builds upon these layers and tiers. So with that, again, the innovation piece is how do you leverage AI to interpret the data faster and give advice, right? So these are your co-pilots. We don't expect AI to do it for you. What we want AI to do is be able to see patterns faster, to be able to interpret that data, and again, look at your benchmarks and say, hey, hello, over here, attention, we think you can do X, Y, and Z, or A, B, and C. And then again, that agentic workflow layers in on top to actually go out and execute that fast for you. So in our layer cake is that foundation. What I want to do is just talk a little bit about the core of this, as you saw, is the data and the metrics and how you build upon that. So an example with Iowa, this is an attract customer. So we were able to come in with processes and look at the data and make decisions and changes and then measure that. So basically we were able to get 74% of qualified applicants in through email campaigns. So they saw a 17% increase in applications overall using this method, and making sure that it's intuitive, making sure it's modern, and being proactive. So this is evaluating the data. They were had underperforming roles. Now again, what are the recommendations to do to improve that and close that gap? And this is the results of one of those recommendations, which was to further campaign for some of those targeted roles and be able to see the outcomes of that action to validate that they made the right choice, as well as see the impact on that. So again, this is, it not only saved the Iowa recruiter significant time, but helped improve their strategic recruiting outcomes. So this is that maturity level that I was talking about of how do we move to do different things? How do we react a different way? And so this is a great example of the right tools and the right actions to drive that results. So again, the data tells the story. Next. So this is another one I want to highlight really quickly because Derek's going to hit on it later on from that tool, right? The important thing here is this tooling and the actions and reacting to what the data tells you and how to move up that maturity model. So this example here for City of Portland is they needed to, again, get more qualified applicants to fill jobs. We know posting on job boards is very time consuming. That was their pain point. I can't go post on 25 job boards, takes too much time. So intelligence drove, so this is with Job Target, they use intelligence to say, hey, for your type of job, you're going to see the most results on these boards. And do you programmatically, do you want us to post on those boards for you? And so you can do this with a few clicks, and this is kind of similar to that agentic, right? You're like, sure, let's do that. And then it does all the posting for you. They went out into Job Target deployed in December last year for our customers. They went out and have been and adopted this, and they were able to double the amount of applications for some jobs, boosted diverse applications from 30 to 50%, cut recruiter post time from hours or days to minutes, and they slashed their spending by 75%. So again, this is an example of adapting and changing the business to based upon data or being reactive to the data and the performance they were seeing. So Derek's going to talk a little bit about that, where you can see a report and see the data, right, that would drive an action like this. So how do we get there? I think, you know, with that, there's strategic opportunities. How do you step into this, right? You know, this really starts with modernizing your HR technology. NEOGOV and NEOED is investing significantly as fast as we can run with various quarterly releases and changes. You'll see at the Ignite conference coming up if you're there, how every quarter we're releasing innovation and AI partners, as well as some of the agentic pieces to really try to help support your organization to move faster than if you had done this independently on your own. But this is really modernizing your technology accelerate onboarding and the time to productivity, right? Meet your hiring goals faster. 45% of agencies are investing in onboarding improvements this year. Enhance the employee experience and build future leaders, right? Improve engagement, retention, satisfaction with modern performance tools. Turn your workforce into strategic action. Leverage your benchmarks, your real-time analytics to get smarter staffing and allow you to make decisions across departments. Next. So the theme is layer. So we're talking about a lot of layers, right? Because again, it's an evolution, right? So how do you step into some of these layers? Where can you get started? Change doesn't happen overnight. So it's an evolution, and it's not just tools, it is a mindset. It's process, right? It's strategy. So this is where we see some data-informed investments with foundations, right? Leverage vendors. You know, all of the vendors and all of the software, we're all in this innovation and AI world right now. So you will continue to see pressure and you know, from these tech partners to come in with tools to help, right? Visibility, but start to build and leverage your vendor dashboard. Set your KPIs, start to look at your goals. The next slide, I'll talk about the maturity levels here in a minute, but you need to have benchmarks. This is not, and this is about, it's okay to make mistakes, right? You make an assumption, let's go do this action, let's react. We're gonna go run kind of an A/B test, right? We're gonna do it in this way, A, and then we're also gonna change it up a bit, and we're gonna go about and try it in this version B, and see what you're learning, see what's reacting from that. It's also okay, because again, you know, we're agile, we're gonna iterate. We did this, we didn't see the results we want. You need to come back and assess, why not? What do we need to change? What did we miss, right? That's okay, that's how we learn, especially in an environment right now that not only is technologically advancing so quickly, but just the landscape of candidates and hiring and what's happening. There are things that are going on that haven't been experienced in previous years, right? So some of this is an experiment, and it's okay to, you know, to adjust and improve. Again, acceleration. We're going to try to give you tools to help you accelerate on the technological side. So what is our maturity level, right? So next slide. It is a journey. It is a ball. It is rolling uphill. It gets harder as you roll uphill. You get more ROI as you move uphill, right? So we find that many of our customers are actually at like a level 0.5, right? They look at some reports if they have time, and a lot of times the reports are just a list of data that you have to maybe do your own pivots, and it just gives you a number, right? So, you know, we want to help move up to where a lot of this is done for you, or you're just looking at your benchmarks, you're looking at optimizing, right? So what we're going to cover and dive into here in a minute is what each of these levels have, and we're going to talk through some of the examples that NEOGOV NeoEd has for that. But level one is, you know, when we talk about that, it's initiating, right? I'm just, like I said, I have my data, I have to analyze the gaps, I have to try to interpret it. Yeah, what's my headcount report? What's my turnover report, right? Level two is developing. So this is more of a, I'm gonna have a data analytics strategy. I'm gonna clean and govern data, right? Some of this is, I can't see the story or the real underlying messages because my data isn't structured right. So sometimes this involves cleaning house, changing your configuration, standardizing things so that you can get to a story and a theme. Level three is performing, right? Using visuals to tell your story, looking at historical trends, starting to forecast, right? And this is where using more emerging technology will really help here. Level four is optimizing, right? Interactive dashboards, drill in, using AI for predictive analytics, telling you if you do X, you will get Y, right? Here's the return you will get if you change. And they're doing that by looking at your own data and your own trends and seeing those patterns and results, right? This is where you're going to tie your HR data directly to a business strategy. And so, you know, this is how you transform, right? Transform your data into a strategic asset. And again, as we get into move up this maturity model, it takes time, and it takes different resources and different technology that you may or may not have here. All right, we're going to jump into a poll really quick. So, and then I will hand it over to Derek to dive into more of these specific examples. So, what level is your organization at? Level 0. We are just displaying, reports here. Level 1 is you start to massage the reports, pivot, see your own trends. Level 2, again, is now you're starting to look at some dashboards. Level 3, you're looking at benchmarks. And level 4 is you guys are pretty mature. All right, pretty in line with what we see across the board. Which is why we are having this conversation, right? So thank you guys for sharing that and your brutal honesty here. You're right on par with many of the organizations. So I will hand it off to Derek, who's going to dive more into the tools and some of the examples of these features. One, to raise awareness for what you could take advantage of, but to have you start to think of using these tools more or even building some of your own tools as well. Derek?
Thanks, Gary. So let's take a deeper dive into each of the maturity levels. Level 1 is all about getting started, right? At this stage, the priority is to identify which data points you already have and why they matter. So too often, like organizations stop at the surface level metrics, like total applications. Instead, the value comes from asking, what story can this data tell about how we hire? Setting the strategy isn't about intuition anymore. It's about letting data tell you where to focus, what to fix, and what to scale. So you can move faster, hire smarter, and stay aligned with your goals. So at this stage, the key is visibility. There's a relatively new analytics reporting dashboard in Insight that brings all your foundational hiring data into one place. You can track time to hire to see how long it really takes to fill positions. You can use benchmarking to compare your performance with other agencies and quickly spot the roles that are struggling versus those that are performing well. Pair with insights like candidate by source and EO reporting, you not only see what's working, but also ensure compliance and equity across hiring. So the strategy here is very simple. These insights let you pinpoint bottlenecks, double down on what works, and then reallocate where they're needed the most. So even at level 1, you're actually already moving from a reactive tracking to intentional and strategic decision making. When you move to level 2, the focus shifts from collecting data to using it strategically. This means cleaning up data, putting governance in place, and developing analytic skills across your team. So the value here is confidence, being able to make that data-driven decision instead of relying on assumptions. This prevents wasted effort and ensure resources go where they matter the most. So at level 2, it's not just to see the numbers, but the goal is to use the data strategically, right? And this is where the job attractiveness report comes in. It is a tool that cuts through the noise and make underperformance impossible to miss. This is inside the analytics and reporting dashboard. And so instead of spreading your recruiting resources thin, you can immediately see which jobs need attention, which ones are fine as they are, and exactly what actions to take. So this isn't about chasing more applications. It's about smarter recruiting and using precision to drive results. As a quick stat, we know that only about 99% of the admin users are taking advantage of this report. So that means most of you are missing out on the biggest opportunities that could instantly improve your hiring outcomes. So how do you use this? On the 9-box report in the A&R report dashboard, the x-axis will show the views and the y-axis shows the conversions to applicants. Now, if your jobs are falling on the right side, which are the green quadrants, that means no action is needed and the job is healthy. On the left side, where the blue quadrants, that will suggest advertising to increase your reach. Now, where you don't want to see is your jobs on the gray quadrants. That's where it means the jobs that are potentially with structural problems. Could be overly strict requirements, and they may require rewriting in the posting. So this system actually pulls data across all your jobs, plotting them for you and surfacing recommended actions. It's a tool in your recruiting toolbox that helps you stop wasting effort and take targeted actions like instantly. At level 3, this is where analytics becomes more proactive. You're not just reporting the past, you're forecasting the future. By recognizing the patterns in historical data, you know when and how to act. The real value here is timing and be able to intervene about before a hiring problem worsen or in having an action plan ready to go. So this is where our job health dashboard comes in. It gives you real-time visibility into how each posting is performing, shows when you're on track to meet your targets, and lays out clear next steps. So for example, the system can recommend advertising when conversion rate dips, or flag when a job is trending low below quartile benchmark so you can stop it before it becomes a real problem. This is about smarter positioning and putting you ahead of issues instead of reacting too late. And only 23% of you are actually using this dashboard today. So that means majority of you are missing out on the insights that directly shorten time to hire and improve applicant flow. And from the people that we do see that use it, the difference is very obvious. They're making faster, more confident decisions because they know exactly where their job stands, when to act, and what levers to pull. And finally, at the highest data maturity level, optimization is about making data part of your everyday decision making. Insights are iterative, predictive, and collaborative. The value here is not just measuring the results, but you're improving them continuously. Teams across HR can collaborate on data-driven actions that boost qualified applicants and strengthen your overall competitiveness as an organization. And this comes to life with smart recommendations for a job. This is an early access feature that we have that are opening in a few weeks. So if you're interested, let us know. We're happy to involve you in looking at the preview of it. Now the system uses AI to benchmark your jobs against similar postings. It factors in geography, agency attributes, job duties, job responsibilities, so that we ensure we're comparing apple to apples. And if a posting is underperforming, it automatically suggests adjustments, whether that's lowering unnecessary experience requirement, adjusting salary, or broadening education criteria. This keeps the job attractive so that your candidates your candidates and then will help your agency stay competitive. And you can actually start to drill into the detail page of the smart recommendations. And this is where the real power comes in. The tool provides evidence to help you understand why and what to do about it. It provides the data you need to make the case for change. It validates the recommendation with benchmarks, comparison to similar jobs, and historical patterns. So that validation is what builds the trust for you, both for you as a user and for your stakeholders across organization. It gives you the proof that you can share with hiring manager, leadership, or anyone who needs to see the why behind the recommendation. And this is how you evolve your organization with content and evidence that doesn't just stay with the team, but becomes a conversation joiner for a smarter and more strategic hiring decision. So let's take a look at it in action. The demo here actually shows smart recommendations appearing on a job posting right here. By clicking the job view, you'll have to acknowledge the AI acknowledgement. And this is when the system goes to the backend, gathers similar jobs data, calculating the benchmarks, and getting you a recommendation. The smart recommendation will provide you at the moment for the early access up to 3 types of recommendations. You'll see one in terms of experience required, one towards the minimum education required, and then the salary. It will also project the estimated applicant increase that you'll get if you choose to apply those suggestions. Now, where I was talking about it earlier, there's a detail button, and this is where you can actually export and get a report that is printable and savable in PDF, and that you can share out with your colleagues. But it starts to detail how these recommendations were calculated. You'll see that the detail, for example, in this business analyst job, it says 56 similar jobs. So we were able to grab other 56 similar jobs to calculate your quartiles and help you understand which quartile has the best conversion and where you're at. And based on that information, it's able to do a prediction of potentially how many more applicants you'll get if you change your salary. So this is available in a few weeks, as I said. So if you're interested after the call, let us know. We're happy to kind of show you and get you access this so that you can see how this potentially will look like. Now, this is the first version, but we are also expanding recommendations further in the future, including things like qualitative job postings and other data, so that you're not just only getting these kind of recommendations, but more to it as well.
Yeah, and I will just call out, this is, again, the exciting innovation as we're moving further into that maturity to help give you tools. We know not all of you have the power to change salaries, but this is to give you the evidence to go take that back to leadership, take that back to your annual committees that review this. Some of you even have to go to Congress, right? Depending upon where you're at. This is meant to educate and start to drive change. And with that, you need the numbers to do that. So it's really exciting to help put in a nice format the evidence that before you didn't really know how you compared, you didn't pull that, be able to truly quantify it. So this is, again, part of that level 4 maturity. And it's really excited stuff to see, right? You're going to see more and more of this in the year. That what we just demoed, the recommendations, that is part of standard product, right? So it's not, it's a configurable feature to turn on.
Awesome. All right, Carrie, back to you.
Perfect. So vision and sneak peek. So as I said, so we're going to keep rolling uphill ourselves right into this maturity. So there's some more innovative, and tools that really are meant to look at the data, look at the performance, and interpret actions. So we're going to jump into some of these right now. So Derek mentioned polish the job description, right? And this qualitative, right? A lot of you want to know, hey, yes, we have a internal job description, but we have the ability to change it before we post it. What is the best performing changes that will drive the most conversion? So we actually have a writing assistant that is coming that will allow you, that will analyze your job posting before you post it and make recommendations to changes on the text. Now, these are things, again, that you can opt into one change and not the other. So, but this is more of what are the top performing text that's going to drive high conversion and allow you to change that. Next. Other ones that we're looking at is ask the right question. So this is based upon feedback that we've heard from you, which is, hey, I'm creating a job. What are the right questions? What are the questions I should ask for this role? So again, all of this is tools that are really analyzing past performance of jobs and data behind the systems to say, if you really want to measure accurately to find the best hires for this role, here's the 12 questions you should be asking, and allow you to go ahead and add them or pull them from the configuration, right? So it's time saving, it's very relevant, and you're going to get more effective screening. Next. So hit on this, advertise to the right audience. Again, this is intelligence, and this is that job target. This is the programmatic posting. So when you're going to post a job, it's going to come in and be like, hey, do you want us to just go do it for you? And we know what's best for this role in this region, in this area. So this is what we saw Portland doing, and it's going to pick from the 25,000 job boards and go ahead and post. So again, this is something that's available now that is already using performance and metrics to drive actions. Next. AI candidate to job matching. So this is actually being built. This is going to come on your career sites and government jobs. This allows a candidate to use their profile to then recommend the best fit of jobs for them. Now, as we know, a lot of candidates come and look and they'll search for a job title because that's the job title they have. They don't know that their skills and their experience will match to 15 other job titles that they could be qualified for and come in and apply for. So this is taking what was the very old school string matches out of the conversation and is really looking at their overall resume, their overall profile, as well as what is on the jobs and going, hey, for this job 25 miles away from you, here's 15 of them that are, you're a 90% fit for. So it's going to drive increased applications conversion, but more importantly, it's going to drive them to the jobs that they're really qualified for, right? Instead of making them spend more time trying to figure it out and then walk away. So this is what is coming in 2026, and we're really excited for this feature. Another is the AI candidate summarization. So again, when the candidate is looking for those jobs and we recommend those jobs, or they go out job hunting themselves and want to go old school and type in the title, it's going to tell them, and again, look at their profile, their skills, their experience, and then it's going to assess that to the job. And it's going to tell them how much of a fit and or where they're falling short. And again, we're trying to drive better fit qualified candidates to these roles. And an example that we have is like you have people who I did sales lead developments. Well, that's the same skills needed to do a customer service job over here. They just don't know that, right? So this is going to take a lot of the guessing out of it and let them know, hey, you're a fit for this job, go apply, right? So again, it's all about the data and it's all about interpreting that. All right, here's another poll. So we're back to this maturity, that rolling the ball uphill. What do you see the blockers for that, for your journey? Multi-select, one, all, and let us understand where you think that you're going to hit some of your biggest challenges here. Again, that's why there's layers in the cake, right? And it is, and we're talking about it now because it is an incremental road. So a lot of times it's let's take the one that's the biggest blocker, and I'm going to let's start to tackle that one now. Sometimes it's internal processes. Sometimes a lot of times it's leadership alignment, right? Once you get that, the rest of it can follow. So excited to see what you guys parcel out here. Oh, it's pretty balanced. Pretty balanced. That's surprising for me. So I think it's great to see this numbers. Yes, so pretty balanced, challenged across all. Don't be discouraged. Again, bite-sized pieces, increment it, and it. So next slide. As we see this, and you get to the start to go the ramp, right? It takes energy and momentum to roll that ball uphill. Think of it as like, I think, bigger than the bowling ball. Think of it as that medicine ball that nobody could pick up in gym, right? It's going to be slow and it's going to be hard, right? It's okay. You can gain a lot level at a time, right? Level 4 is the extreme. It's our job to try to build as many of those tools in so they're just available for you to use and you don't have to go reinvent them or build them yourselves, right? So we're going to continue to invest in that this next year. But there is a lot that you can do organization-wise, how to adopt the data, what to do with it, and really what you want to measure. And so a lot of that is start to look at some of the tools that we've delivered. There are more tools in there. You can at least hopefully use what we have out of the box, and the ones that are only 9% of the users using that report and 23% using the other report, use the tools. But there's things that you can do on your own, again, for that data maturity. All right, so where can we start, right? Assess your current HR data. We talked to some of these customers and they're like, hey, EDU customers, I want to get college-wide or statewide EEO reporting, but I have all these different schools, and guess what? all of those different schools set up their own codes, their own scales, so I can't aggregate or roll anything up. In order for you to tell a story, you need to have consistent data, consistent values. So some of this is coming back and just, this is something you can do yourself, which is how do I start to evaluate the story that my data tells, and where am I missing data to capture that? Or where do I need to standardize, right? And start to build that clear starting point, and do it for the where you're going to get the biggest ROI and the biggest value, right? You can also partner with internal leadership to align on your AI strategy. That is something that we hear back a lot, which is I'll say the knee-jerk reaction is don't use AI, don't use AI. I think a lot of this comes back to the context, right? There is, I know in EDU, students are using AI to cheat, right? We hear about that. So there is a fear and a panic of AI is bad. I think it comes back to the context and the role it plays. Is it a helper? Is it meant to just highlight areas to focus, or is it meant to do the job for you? So, you know, we take a stance on it's a tool in the toolbox, and we want to give you more tools to use so that you can make smart decisions, right? So part of this is putting in context for your internal governance organizations, which is what is AI actually doing and what is the impact for it? Because as you've all seen, this is the future, right? So how do you step into it smartly? The other thing is using vendor solutions to customize dashboards. We every quarter have been releasing new dashboards. The HR director dashboards are coming out this quarter. You're going to see more of them in the third quarter announcements. So those of you who are customers, you get your October 20th or September 23rd, you get your Q3 preview window opening, and you will be able to see the release notes and see all of those. And those of you that are going to be at Ignite the following week at our conference, you'll see a lot of those dashboards as well. So we're going to continue to give you more tools as well. So starting to adopt, we teased you with some of the things that are coming up, and well as some of the other areas we're looking at. Being able to adopt these intelligent features as they come out. They are not mandated, they are opt-in, it's optional to use them, and they're meant to, again, just be tools in the tools box to go, oh, this one's red, let me read why it's red. Here it's telling me what I can do. Whether you choose to action it or not, it's up to you. We're just trying to arm you with information that maybe you didn't have. And all of that has to do with the underlying data, the behaviors, the trends, and interpreting that for you. The other thing is run experiments, right? This is that kind of A/B testing, right? If I do X, what happens? If I do Y, what happens? You can't do things how you did before. We need to evolve, and it's okay to take a chance, right? More efficient hiring and workforce outcomes comes from thinking outside the box, trying something and assessing the data and the outcomes of that. Opt in to early access, customer advisory boards, feature review boards. So as Derek mentioned, you know, we've got the smart recommendations. We have, this is in early access now. We have customers and some state agencies that are piloting this. We have more of these things. As all of these features come out, we have early access in most of them. If you want to get on the customer advisory boards, then you get this. You get to be involved in our feature conversations. You get to be involved in reviewing and helping build the next version of the product in with, again, bringing your own data and your own voice to what's important. So there's lots of things here. These are just some suggestions to help in your maturity round. But yeah, now questions and answers. All right, let's see here. Is it available to Insight users? I'm assuming you're talking about the smart recommendations. So that is in early access right now for, I think, Derek, we're what, about 10 customers that are using it right now. So if you want to get involved in that early access, you can reach out and to Derek and or myself, and we can get you on that. Otherwise, when it goes general availability, which we're targeting, believe Q4, then everybody will have access to it, and you can configure it and turn it on for certain users or for not use it at all. have not seen any more questions come in. All right. We're going to be doing more of these, so happy to, if you reach out to your CSM, if you're an existing customer, or if you'd like just more information, you can reach out, and we will for sure be able to have more deeper conversation on analytics and how to let it drive your smart recruiting strategies. So thank you guys very much for joining us today.